So this is kind of the hiatus week. We just ended the summertime Psalms. Like we went through the whole series of different types of Psalms and examined those. And then this becomes sort of the in-between, kind of a reset, sort of a less intense week. It's only 4 pages instead of 5.5, so you're welcome. But it's also, it's the point in the summer where me and my family, like, we've realized that this is camp time. This is when camp season has begun. For those of you that are newer to the congregation that aren't aware, I have a small nonprofit ministry that I run that does weeks of summer camp for kids. And right now we're at 3 different locations, and our team, I was not at it, but we had a team that just did one at Butler Springs Christian Camp, which is in Hillsboro, Ohio. Just finished there on Friday. And then we have 1 week, and then a week from today, me and Leslie and Owen will be staff at a week at Camp Northward, which is in Falmouth, Kentucky. And then immediately after that week, we go into a week of Woodland Lakes, which is in Amelia, Ohio, and we'll do a week there. So we have 3 almost back-to-back with this 1 week in between. And this is a significant year for this ministry because this is our 20th anniversary of putting together these weeks of programming. 20 years ago, we started doing a week of camp, and that was at Butler Springs. That very first summer, we had 12 campers. And that picture on the screen is 11 of the campers. One of them is taking the picture, and then the staff members that were there too. So there was just a tiny little circle of people. We had no idea what to expect from it. We didn't know how it was going to go or whether it was going to be a success, what the takeaway would be from the kids, if they would learn any lessons from it, or if they would just hide from us and escape and try not to ever come back. We had no clue, but we knew from the beginning of it, though, what our objective was and what we were trying to do with it. And we were trying to fill a void that at the time, all the camps that existed there were camps just for either kids that wanted a base camp of just go and listen and sing and play games and be done, or like a sports camp where you learn how to be better at basketball or volleyball or whatever, while also being at a Christian camp. And we wanted to create a program that would facilitate those kids that didn't fit into that. Something that would fill a void, both for the schedule of that camp to say, here's a thing that's not like that, and also to fill a void that we knew existed in the lives of those campers for their development, that there were kids that didn't really want to do the sports things, that were more interested in making up songs or dressing up in costumes or doing little skits and doodling on the corner of every little piece of paper they can find. There were kids that wanted to be imaginative and artistic, and so we wanted to make a camp that would put them into a world where they could live out a week of storytelling and play character roles and at the same time get a lesson from that. So it wasn't just them sitting somewhere and listening to someone speak and then playing a game, things that would put them on the fringe, things that would keep them on the outside. It was a camp for kids who wanted to be part of a story that they could see unfold. Like a murder mystery, where you're all playing a character and you don't really know who the murderer is, but you're all still playing your character until you find out, and you learn the lesson through the game who the murderer was and how the story unfolds. The content that we would deliver is that same type of approach. And we knew that there would have to be some kids out there that would really take to this kind of idea. And so that very first week we had 12, and we really were hoping for great things with it. God definitely did bless the program. We took our convictions for that alternative camp teaching style, and we helped them to reach teens that may not have otherwise gone back to a week of camp. They may have just gone to 1 week and said, well, this is not for me and I'm done. We had campers that continued, and they came back and they came back. And like I said, this has been 20 years. This summer we have 92 students between 3 weeks of camp, which is, it's crazy to think that we started with just 12 here. And I think that was just high school. Leslie, do you remember? Was the first one just high school? Because now it's middle school and high school, and it's at 3 different locations. And we have 92 students registered across those locations. And as it has grown, we obviously have needed more staff to help because, number one, more kids means more adults and more people watching and more eyes. Number two, I'm not in my 20s anymore, and I can't keep up with these kids. And so we had to try to bring in more people and onboard new people. And the cool thing about doing a week like this that fits a niche, that hits on a very specific wavelength for certain kids, is that when those kids graduate, they've learned to speak a language that's specific to them, that they love very, very specifically as who they are. And those kids want to, in turn, come back around and be staff themselves. So we've been able to, over the course of these 20 years, bring in multiple students who were former campers that return as staff to make the program that much stronger. This camp, Butler Springs, the one where this began at, it's a really special place for Leslie and I. We both, as children, went to Butler Springs camp. It was where we grew up going. Not my first year, but the first time I was there when I was probably 3 years old. My church did a lock-in there, and then multiple years after that, we were there for either a full week or a weekend or a retreat. But for many years, Leslie and I both went there as campers, and we got to watch the camp grow and expand and add building programs, and we were watching the development of it, even if it was just 1 week out of the year, or maybe possibly 2 weeks if it was a really good summer. And we were convinced that there was an important part of this camp that was critical to our lives, and it would help to make us grow individually as people. And we didn't even know each other at that time. Like we both went to this camp and probably at some point at a camp together and didn't know that we were there at the same time, because it wasn't until we were adults that we actually were introduced to each other. But at the same time, we were compelled to go back, both as campers and then after we were adults, because we believed in it, because we loved what the camp was doing. We returned as adults individually to help out with different weeks of camp. So even though we did help separately and we didn't meet each other at camp officially, we did both love and believe in this camp, and our own individual passions for wanting to go and help at the camp made a connection for us where our first real connection together was as staff members at this camp. And we got to see it advance in our own lives once we were finally married and became like regular camp staff, and then we started our own camp here, which is called Be Creative, by the way, is the name of our camp, Be Creative. We were able to move it into something that was totally ours, that we could invest our hearts into as our program. We all start as students somewhere. No matter where you want to begin your journey, and it may not be the same, obviously, for everybody where you become a student and how you take to that teaching. Some people may totally give up on regular conventional teaching and run away and go be taught on the street or wherever else, but that's still teaching, right? You're still being taught something from someone. We're all students. And earlier in this year, we were studying Greek words when we did the It's All Greek series, and I try to enforce the idea that the study of these words and the development of your Greek knowledge and where the roots of the words come from helps you to develop a much more mature faith, that you're growing in maturity spiritually as you take on new concepts and you go from that base level to a much broader and broader and fuller, let's say depther, why not? The submarines go to the deptherest places there are. You're building an intellectual faith. You go from spiritual milk to spiritual solid food. And that analogy of growth, whether you connect to it or not, whether it makes sense to you or not, there is a presupposition with the idea of spiritual growth and knowledge that, see, when you are regularly as an infant, you are taking in milk. You take in milk as a baby because you are incapable of doing anything else. You could not survive without, during those beginning stages, your mother giving you milk. You can't just walk out of your mother's womb and immediately call DoorDash. That's just not possible. We are helpless and we are incapable as infants. We needed someone else to feed us. We needed other people to help us grow. Once you are old enough to feed yourself and you get mature, you start to develop and be stronger and take on more ideas and understandings. Both physically and spiritually, you become more alive and more growing. So then when you're mature, you understand that cycle exists. You can then in turn start that cycle over with new infants, that you can help be a part of another infant's life by making them be able to grow and sustain life. You help them in that journey of their success. That cycle has to happen. As we are as spiritual infants, we have to grow We had to be fed in order to grow. Once we are mature, we then can go back and feed other people. That cycle exists in all things. If we take hold of the things that we are taught in an early age, and if they really make an impact on us, if we really believe in the teachings and the connections that are made and where it went and what it did to us, then it does something to us as adults where we can become teachers. And we can continue that process with other students. We advocate for it when we are passionate about it. In other words, passion perpetuates. This picture is from 2012. This was the first time since we began. We began in 2005. This was the first year that we doubled in size. So in 2012, we had 24 students, and that's all 24 students on the bridge. That week of Be Creative Camp was called Zeitgeist, where they were all time travelers, and they were going through different generations and decades and learning about different styles of fashion and music and everything else. Passion perpetuates. The things that we love, the things that we are passionate about, we want that cycle to continue with new generations and with new people. On the front row of that picture, the bottom row, the ones that are sitting all the way to the right side of the picture, there's a young middle school girl named Rachel who is still with us, actually. She's the one in charge of our middle school now. She's the one that leads up our middle school camp. She's in charge of our curriculum to make sure that we keep our scriptures on a certain path in a certain way, and double checks a lot of the references and things to make it all fit. Rachel has been with us since that week of camp. That was her first week of camp. She came every year after that and became a staff member and has been a staff member every year since then. Passion will perpetuate. The things that you love and believe in, you want to see them continue on in other people. And that cycle will continue and continue and continue. Not only is this camp time, because not all of you are camp people, it is also the first full week in July. And whether you want to accept it or you realize it or not, but that means that this is the first week in the last half of 2025. We are on the downhill now for this year. We have been through the first half of 2025. And here at Livestream, that first half was a lot of education and preparation and building and planning, at least in sermon terms. The sermon series that we've done were about examining our roots, how we started as a church, where we've been, what we can be. We studied the meanings of deeper words and concepts and tried to get a better handle on who we are and how we got here. And even though we did do like some other fun things too, like trivia nights, which we are doing another one very, very soon. We'll talk about that later today. We still looked at this more as like a building process. This was a building up and equipping first half of the year. And it was all about education and training, kind of like we were all campers or students. We were taking in the first part of 2025 as people growing up and attending classes. Our suitcases were packed. We were ready to take in whatever we could do to learn, the friends we could make, the things that could happen to us along the way. We were ready for all those adventures. And now we're back home and we've unpacked. And now we have to ask the question, what do we do? And that's what I want the second half of 2025 to be the answer to, what is it we do? There's a format that's used in delivery of sermons. It's called the truth application format. And all the different ways that you could deliver a sermon, like a past, present, future narrative, or a me, you, we, they, God, me, you. Like there's different ways that you can deliver a message. And one of the methods is called truth application, where Scripture is laid down, the basic facts and fundamental points are laid down at the beginning of the sermon, and then you do and this is what we do with it part. And you apply what truth has been given. Well, all those facts get stated, and then you were supposed to do something with it. The Great Commission in 3 short verses is a truth application sermon. Matthew 28. Then Jesus came to them and said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. That's the truth. Therefore, here comes the application. Go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you, and surely I'm with you always to the very end of the age. Truth, then application. The first part of the commission states the truth that all authority everywhere is in Jesus' hands. He has shown his ability to teach, his ability to heal, his ability to defeat death. And with those truths established, his disciples should have the confidence and the strength to then follow up with that command and apply those truths in their own lives to go and do what he had done for his disciples, go do that to other people. Now that they've seen the beauty, now that they understand the importance, they can go and apply that truth to the rest of the world, making disciples of every nation. Truth, then application. First half of our year, we've done the truth. We've laid down the who, what, when, where, and then the why. Here we go into the second half of the year where we apply it. We apply all the things that we've learned of who we are, and what we do from this point on is all about the action. Jesus began his ministry by approaching fishermen. The first people he went to were fishermen. They knew a trade skill. They were not college scholars. They were not masters of multiple professions. They had a trade skill. And Jesus used that skill and their upbringing to help them understand his love and his teaching in a way that they could relate to and make sense of. Matthew 4, "Come follow me," Jesus said, "and I will send you out to fish for people." They understand the analogy. They understand the concept of that. They can take that truth and apply it. And application is different for everyone because we all grow up with different perceptions. We weren't all fishermen. We aren't going to make the same analogy and understand the same way to be a fisher of men. We all have the truth, though, and the best approach for all of us is to take that same universal truth that we all established for 6 months, or for however long we went to camp or through school or training. All of those truths can then be applied in the specific ways that we know. Because passion perpetuates. So let's make this last half, the July through December parts of 2025, be about the action, be about the doing. We know who we are. We know what we love. So unpack. Take the stuff out of the suitcase. Get ready to use it. Start telling people what you've learned, what you've loved, and the friends you've made. James 1, verse 22. "Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves." Do what it says. We are not called to continually receive truth. It is expected that we will do something with the knowledge. We will apply the truth. And it's presupposed that we will allow a cycle to continue, that teachers will teach students, and then the students will grow to become teachers, and that cycle can continue. Our growth into adulthood will lead us to help new lives to be strengthened out of infancy. Some people will fall into study mode, where you just want to continually sit and learn more and hear more, not ever really doing the things with the words that you're consuming. You're hearing the words, but not doing what they're saying. And it's easy to get stuck in that trap because we do a lot of things on repetitive cycles. We come to this place in the same way every week, but the strengthening has to continue. The development has to be there. You have to get out of infancy to where you're ready to teach, in whatever forms that take, whatever actions it is, because James warns us, if we are just hearing it and not doing it, it leads to self-deception. Paul confirms it. Paul verifies that same thing to his church leader in training, Timothy. He says to him in 2 Timothy, "You then, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus. And the things you have heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to reliable people who will also be qualified to teach others." That cycle continues. Hey, young kid, you've learned it, you've seen it, now go lead. You are ready to begin teaching something somewhere, somehow. If you've been touched by the Spirit, if you've been moved by grace, if you've been empowered by love, it is 100% unnatural and unfathomable that you would stay in a stationary position of just receiving and learning. The cycle is expected to continue. And I'm not suggesting that we all need to go and start new churches or create Bible colleges or even go overseas for long-term mission work. But I am definitely saying that as a spiritual body, we must at some point take that next step into maturity. We go from a receiver to a giver. The next 3 series that we're going to do, the 3 sermon series that are coming up, are all going to be action-focused series. So I want us to get inspired to start picking the fruit off of the plants that we planted, and then to hand that fruit off, to let it grow and let it nourish other people so that they can in turn grow. And then they can plant their own seeds. We're going to study first the questions that Jesus asked. It's going to be called JQ. I don't know why, it just seemed like a fun way to call it. It's JQ. The questions that Jesus asked give us insight into his mind and his motivations. They will give us an insight as to the things that he thought, and if he's thinking them, those would be questions that we should be asking as well. After that, we're going to go through the book of James, which is probably my favorite book in the Bible. And James has a lot to do with putting faith into action. We're discovering all the way through the book of James the ways in which we can take our own faith and apply it. Take the truth and turn it into application. After that, we're going to look at mission work as a whole. And we're going to break it down into something less foreign and overwhelming and with less ninja kicks and punches. Something that's more about building new things. All the things that we as individuals can build and the ways that we can build. We can plant new seeds. We can start a Bible study. Anybody in this room can start a Bible study. If you'd like to start one that's built around your love for cooking or old movies or just walking, I can promise you that there is another person in this congregation that would also enjoy parts of that same thing. And we would love to help facilitate it. We would love to help empower it to happen in whatever ways we can as a church together. That you can go and begin these things. And I want to encourage you all, and this is going to be like your homework. This is your homework for next week, to just go and think about the things that you would love, personally, spiritually, the things that you are passionate about, the things that you would love to see perpetuate onto a new generation, onto other people, that you can generate discipleship through. That we all can become more spiritually mature in those different ways. Think about the things that you can, even if it's starting simple, even if it just ends up being 2 people, the things that you can put into place to make actionable. Share them on the Facebook group page. Send me a message and tell me what they are, and I'll share it with everybody else. Or just share with somebody as you're leaving out this door. We have a counter back there that could be filled with little sign-up sheets of group activities and things that we want to get together and do. You could be part of a nursing home visiting group or an outreach program or a mini mission trip or a fishing club. Literally, you name it. You name it. And like I said, if it ends up just being 2 people, you get a chance to know that other person really, really well. And the 2 of you grow closer, and you can in turn then try to move it on to another generation. We are all called to action. We are expected to perpetuate that passion. James 2:14 gets you a little teaser for the James scriptures that are coming in a couple of series here. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save them? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, if not accompanied by action, is dead. So here's to the next 6 months of action. Are we ready? Amen. Amen.